Welcome back to Christian Kids Content Unpacked. The message uses salt and pepper, two distinct but inseparable ingredients, to represent unity and difference within the church body. This analogy establishes a framework where difference is acknowledged but immediately functionally absorbed into a collective whole, setting up a critique of genuine diversity.
Do you see what I have in my hand? Salt and pepper. Where do you normally see salt and pepper? At a fancy dinner table? At any dinner table, that's right. They kind of go together, don't they? You can't have salt without pepper, and you can't have pepper without salt, right? And they're in the same container, but do they look the same?
No. The message asserts a functional codependence, claiming that the two substances are inseparable. You can't have salt without pepper, and you can't have pepper without salt. This implies that the value of difference lies purely in its necessity for the collective function. Common sense teaches that one can certainly use salt without pepper, and vice versa. This analogy imposes an artificial, unnecessary interdependence, overriding the reality of the substance's distinct utility. This utilizes artificial necessity. By defining two separate things as functionally inseparable, the message conditions the children to view their own differences not as independent sources of worth, but as necessary components required to complete the church body. This distorts the theological doctrine of unity. Instead of unity being found in a common source or mission, it is defined by a forced codependent relationship, suggesting that difference is only valuable because it fills a hole. This is a problem because it imposes a subtle burden on the child to fill a specific, non-negotiable role in the church, making their difference a requirement for the institution's wholeness rather than their own inherent completeness. Ask yourself, is your value defined by what you are on your own or by what the group needs you to be?
Did I spill salt on you? Is that why you moved away? I'm sorry. You can't have peanut butter without jelly. What are some other ones? Macaroni without cheese? That would just be noodles. That's right. Anything else? A hamburger without ketchup. That's right. What else? A hot dog without a bun. So you can't have a pizza without the cheese and the pizza sauce. Good. Or the pepperoni. Some people don't like pepperoni, though.
I don't like pepperoni.
See? But you do? Me too. Okay, so we have salt and pepper this morning. On the outside, they look different, don't they? They're in the same container, and they're always together. But are they the same? No.
One's a little spicier than the other.
One's really spicy and one's really salty.
It makes your mouth want to drink water.
That's right. The other one makes your mouth water. So even though they look the same in the container, they're not the same. And they don't taste the same. And because the insides are different, it makes the outsides look different, right? Well, what we're talking about today is friendship. Does everybody look the same?
No.
It would be kind of boring if everybody looked the same, wouldn't it?
And you had the same name.
And the same name. Twins do, not all twins look the same, but some twins do look the same, but they're not exactly the same.
And if we all talked at the same time, the same exact word.
That would be really boring, wouldn't it? If we were all the same. So God made us different for a reason, right?
The message shifts from functional codependence to social observation, framing human difference primarily in terms of superficial aesthetic diversity. Look the same, same name. The primary negative of a lack of diversity is that it would be boring. Common sense teaches that genuine diversity is about deep, consequential differences, culture, thought, power, and socio-economic experience, not merely visible differences or names. This relies on tokenism. By equating difference with easily observable traits, the message encourages a shallow form of acceptance, where difference is tolerated because it makes life more interesting, rather than valued for its intrinsic depth or moral contribution. The message correctly notes that God made us different, but reduces the theological significance of that difference to mere variety. The profound implications of human diversity, power, justice, suffering, are sidelined for an aesthetic preference. This is a problem because it teaches the child that difference is primarily a source of entertainment, boring otherwise, rather than a complex reality requiring genuine empathy, humility, and justice. Ask yourself, is the church appreciating your difference or merely finding you interesting?
And even though we're different, he put us all in his image. He made all of us in his image. And what that means is even though we're different, we can still get along, just like salt and pepper get along even though they're different, right?
The sermon uses the doctrine of Imago Dei, image of God, to collapse all differences into a single, universal fact. He made all of us in his image. This is immediately leveraged to mandate behavioural unity. We can still get along. Common sense teaches that acknowledging a shared origin does not automatically resolve conflict or ensure agreement. Real-life unity requires intentional reconciliation, negotiation, and sacrifice. This relies on essentialism. By collapsing the rich, complex reality of human identity into one shared theological essence, Imago Dei, the message removes the intellectual necessity to grapple with structural or consequential differences. This usage of Imago Dei ignores the theological impact of the fall and sin. If we all perfectly reflect God's image, conflict would be impossible. The message fails to account for the real, broken reasons people struggle to get along. This is a problem because it creates a guilt mechanism. If you struggle to get along, you are failing to live up to the supposed unity guaranteed by the Imago Dei, ignoring external causes for conflict. Ask yourself, is the message giving you a real tool for conflict or just a command to feel unified?
We can get along and love one another and show other people the love of God, even though we're different. Does that make sense? We kind of got off on a tangent talking about food. I'm sorry.
The sermon concludes by issuing a strict behavioural mandate: get along and love one another and show other people the love of God. The acknowledged difference is completely bypassed for a mandated, externally visible performance of unity. Common sense teaches that forcing a feeling, love, or a behaviour, get along, often results in superficial compliance rather than genuine connection, especially when real differences are involved. This creates surface-level compliance. The goal is defined as an external performance, show other people the love of God, which incentivizes children to mask their true feelings or disagreements in favour of a pleasing, observable action. This presentation confuses agape, unconditional, action-oriented love, with forced social harmony. It sidelines the theological call for justice and advocacy for the marginalised, replacing it with a simple requirement for peaceable existence. This is a problem because it trains children to prioritise keeping the peace and maintaining the Church's outward appearance of harmony over confronting real issues of difference or injustice. Ask yourself, is the message asking you to truly understand difference or just to be outwardly nice to it?
Will you pray with me this morning? Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and for salt and pepper. Help us to remember that even though you made us all different, we can all get along in your love.
The salt and pepper message uses the analogy to enforce functional codependence and frame difference as merely aesthetic diversity, reducing its value to making life less boring. It then collapses all complexity via essentialism, leveraging the doctrine of Imago Dei to issue a behavioural mandate for getting along. This entire lesson trains children for surface-level compliance, prioritising the outward performance of harmony over grappling with the complex realities of human diversity and injustice. If you're unpacking the critical thinking in children's sermons, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.